It's A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Tuesday. Hope everyone's having a great end to your Tuesday. I'm Easton Freeze. I'm Titans beat reporter and writer and talker and thinker and insider here at A to Z Sports.com. And we are here to talk about some things that might get me a little bit in trouble with you all in the chat. Hope everyone is doing well. Jumping in this evening. I have had a pretty good day, enjoyed the weather outside. It is starting to feel like fall around here, really enjoying that in Nashville. And now that I'm inside for the day, I want to talk a little bit about the Titans offense. I want to talk about Brian Callahan and the decision that was made for him that, when you look at the numbers, is not pretty. Ross, I've reached the point where... and producer Ross is here this evening as well. I've reached the point where I just don't have energy to care anymore, if that makes sense. Like, I don't... there's a number of things... we're going to talk about Brian Callahan tonight, and it's going to get people to, like, throw tomatoes at me in the comments, what I'm going to say, because just naturally, if I mention that man's name anymore, that's what happens. I don't care what people think about that really anymore, because I don't know. I guess you've broken me. Congratulations. You all have broken me. I'm just gonna say what I think. Not to say that I wasn't saying what I think. It's not that I've been tempted to lie about things. There's just been certain things that I've thought where I'm like, maybe I'll keep that to myself. Maybe we don't have to make that one so loud. I just don't care anymore. And I think some of the facts we're going to talk about tonight are disconcerting, to say the least. And they may look like an endorsement of Brian Callahan, but I'll go ahead and say at the top explicitly, they are not. They are, in fact, the inverse. They are what's the opposite of an endorsement? A criticism, I suppose, of I'll reveal it, the play calling since Brian Callahan. Are we sure that this is what's going to work? This is how it's going to go? Okay, we'll talk about that. And I think when we look at some of the actual numbers from the 3 games that Brian Callahan called as a play caller this year and the opponents that was against, and then we look at some of the numbers since then and the opponents that those games were against, it is not great. It's not great. So we'll dive into that. I've generally got some steam to blow off. We can talk about... there's been J.C. Latham discourse today, or this week, I guess, about how he should be a guard all of a sudden, which I think is crazy town. We can talk about that. I can just rant for a little bit about how I think in 2025 we have so badly jumped the shark when it comes to criticizing coaches first. I think that there's an epidemic in the football viewing and enjoying community when it comes to jumping at coaching change before any other possible solution when there is a problem. I think it's crazy town, and I have a lot of thoughts on that. I talked about Amy Adams Strunk this morning on the morning show and then wrote about it at AtoZSports.com. I've given her an unfortunate new nickname. She is now Amy the Scorpion to me. If you don't know what that means, go and read my article at AtoZSports.com right now about a little blast from the past. If you read any fables as a kid, we talk about the fable of the scorpion and the frog, a favorite of mine that I think is the perfect descriptor of what Amy Adams Strunk is to her own organization right now. And if we want to rehash that tonight, we can. I'm going to let the comments kind of drive us after we talk about some of the numbers that I have prepared for us from a research perspective. And we can just go from there. I can answer any of your questions. You guys know how this works. Any questions you might have, Producer Ross will keep an eye on them in the comments. We'll save those. I will answer any and all questions you have before we get out of here on a Tuesday evening. And with that, let's get it started now that I have filibustered long enough for folks to pour in. Hit the like button on Facebook or on YouTube. That's the easiest way that you can help us out. If you're going to give me a hard time at all today, if you think there's a chance you might give me a hard time at all, good. I'm glad you're here. Just do me a favor and hit the like button first, and then let me have it. And then jump in the comments, because I want to hear from you guys tonight, and maybe send the link to a buddy. Be a friend, tell a friend, get them in here, because we're going to have a good old time. First, got to tell you about our sponsors here on the Primetime Show. We are brought to you, as always, by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. In Mount Juliet, Tennessee. They serve all of Nashville and Middle Tennessee. If you're searching for a trusted Ford dealership in the area, then Two Rivers has you covered. As the leading Ford dealership, they pride themselves on offering an exceptional selection of new and used Ford vehicles with a particular focus on the ever-popular F-150 and F-250 Super Duty trucks. Their commitment to customer satisfaction sets them apart from other dealerships in the area, and they are the South's most trusted Ford dealer. So make sure to check them out for any and all of your new ride needs. We're also brought to you by TrueMav Fitness. TrueMav Fitness offers more than just your average workout. It's signature programming, challenging boot camp style classes that offer high intensity training. Their classes are led by instructors who are consistently pushing your limits and inspiring you to be your best self, not only inside, but also outside of the gym. Your first workout is free and no workouts are recycled or repeated. Check them out. TrueMav Fitness here in Nashville. And finally, Simon Says Men's Clothers. They are destination shopping. You cannot shop Simon Says online. You have to come into their brick and mortar store and experience it for yourself. Exclusivity is the name of their game. Limited pieces, carefully chosen, and when they're gone, they are gone. It's a curated selection. Every item is handpicked for quality, design, and a touch of Nashville character. They have knowledgeable staff on hand for personalized attention to help you discover your perfect piece. It's experiential shopping. It's a store that feels like it was made for you. So make the trip and visit Simon Says in Nashville today. And our newest sponsor, which I don't think we have an overlay for, but you can see over my shoulder here, Nobody Trashes Tennessee. T-Dot is back sponsoring A to Z Sports. And we appreciate T-Dot because they keep all of our roadways clean here in the great state of Tennessee. There's over 35 million pounds. I got the wrong number. This is even a bigger number on pounds. $35 million is how much T-Dot spends annually picking up litter. It's 88 million pieces of trash litter on Tennessee roadways at any given time that they are fighting against. 43% reduction of statewide roadside litter since 2006 is what T-Dot has accomplished. Nobody Trashes our great state. Check them out, the Tennessee Department of Transportation, and make sure to, keep your trash in your car. Don't be a jerk. Protect our state, protect our planet. With that, let's dive into some of these numbers. So Brian Callahan gave up play calling after week 3. He was voluntold to give away the play calling to Bo Hardigree. And that's not really a secret anymore, I don't think. And if it is, welcome to the party. He didn't choose to do that. That's what he was told to do. And he gave it to Bo Hardigree, who had called plays in Las Vegas. So that was his experience. Something like 10-ish games, maybe fewer, that he called in Las Vegas. It escapes me what exactly the number was as I try to multitask and pull up my numbers, which I have buried and made hard on myself. Here we go. And when I went back today and looked at how this offense had produced, not just how it looked and how it felt, and we can talk about the general vibe and any progress we're seeing one way or another from watching the game. But in terms of on paper production, what has the offense done since that change was made? And what did they do in the 3 games before then? Because of course the Titans opened the season with a very, it's become increasingly difficult looking since they played it at Denver, at home against Indy, and at home against the Rams. Not in that order, but those are the three teams they played. Those 3 teams are a combined, they're a combined 16-5 right now. So really, really, really good teams. Denver and Los Angeles are the number 1 and number 2 teams, sacks per attempt right now. And they're also top 5 in third down rate. So those are 2 really elite defensive fronts that the offense has faced. And when Brian Callahan was calling the plays in those games, the Titans were averaging 17 points a game. Now, I am certainly not here to tell you that that's awesome. It's not. It wasn't good. There were a lot of problems with the offense in those games. But in the following 4 games, since Bo Hardigree has taken over, and Brian Callahan was here for 3 of them and gone for 1, and things have changed, they are averaging 11.25 points per game. And one of those touchdowns, 7 of the points that they've scored since then, was an interception, fumble, touchdown, which, it counts, but doesn't really count. They have been shut out in the 4 games since then in 3 out of the 4 games. Shut out in a half of 3 of the 4 games that they have played since then. So they have put together some really ugly games top to bottom. They have put out some total no-show halves. And they, again, have scored 11.25 points per game, with one of those touchdowns being unbelievably fluky. Um, it's just, again, I'm not saying that Callahan was the answer to all of your problems play calling. In fact, I liked his play calling quite a bit when I reviewed. I miss Terry Robisky, says Pop Pop. Sure, man. When I reviewed his first year with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph in the play calling last season, there was a lot of, and I won't rehash all of it, but I liked a lot of it. I thought the bones of a good offense were there. In the 3 games that he called this year, and just I guess more broadly the offensive structure as a whole, regardless of who is calling it, I felt like things had. Again, this could be a really long conversation, but I was seeing less of the clear intent behind some of the plays. I was seeing less guys screaming wide open that were being missed. It wasn't. I still didn't think it was some disaster class, but I did think that it was less impressive than I remember his first season being. Let's just put it that way. And so I didn't like the way that it was trending. I still don't like the way that it's trending. That being said, when he was calling plays, again against much better opponents, this team was averaging 17 points a game. The offense was clunky at best, but they were scoring points. Against worse opponents since then, and we're talking about an Arizona team that blows, a Las Vegas team that blows, like, it has not been the same gauntlet at all. They've not looked good. So I am here to ask our question. Do we believe, on a scale of 1 to 10 is the way I want to put this so that we can get all on the same page here. Scale of 1 to 10, how confident are we that Bo Hardigree as a play caller is what you want for Cam Ward the rest of his rookie year? Again, this is not about pumping up Callahan in hindsight. It's only to point out that since he had that taken away from him, which I think was a mistake. I said it then. This is not revisionist history. I said it then. I thought it was a mistake for them to take away play calling from your offensive head coach. If the issue was game management, in my opinion then and now, you should have had him, he needed to figure it out. And if he couldn't call plays and manage the game at the same time, then that was going to be a problem for me. And I just don't think Bo's all that good at this, to be honest with you. I think there's been some improvement to be fair to Bo. I think that his first week when they got blanked by the Texans was really bad play calling. I felt like the beginning of the Raiders game was really, the way that they opened was atrocious. And I think that you saw some progress in the back half of the Raiders game against softer coverages, granted. And then I think you saw some progress in this most recent game, especially in that first half. So I'm seeing him start to hit some of the right buttons. And far be it from me, I'm not somebody that likes to criticize play calling when we don't know what the calls are or what the defense is doing, forcing the offense's hand, or what the intent behind some of the plays are. So I want to be careful when I say that I'm not crazy about the way that it's going. But I just don't know that this was or is the solution for this team that they needed. And so that's the question. Scale of 1 to 10, how confident are we? Travis says, can we do negative 1 to 10? How confident are we that Bo Hardigree is the solution for the Titans going forward? Mr. No One says a 2 out of 10. Nas, Blood Vein, the first quarter of last week's game 10. Quarter 2, 3, 4, a 1. Okay, so he likes what they did on literally 3 drives last game. Okay. Vol ZX8 too, but that is 1 higher than Callahan. I don't know, man. I think you can say in the same breath that Callahan was not a good play caller, or you didn't like him as a play caller. Fine. And also, he was better at this than Bo Hardigree is. I just think that's a fact. I based on anecdotally, based on production, when I watch the tape, I think Bo Hardigree is worse at this than Brian Callahan. And I'm not going to say that he can't get better, and that Callahan had at that point been calling 20 games. He called his 20th game, was his last game that he called on offense. So Hardigree's on his 3rd with the Titans, and it's not the same offense, nor is it close in terms of time to when he was in Vegas. So I'm not writing him off entirely. I just feel a little vindicated, to be honest with you, in saying that was a mistake then, and we can be patient with him as a play caller now, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I am not pleased with the direction this offense has gone, and I think it's important to say, against worse opponents. I think since Callahan had the play calling taken from him, there have been 2 different stretches of 3 drives in a row. The 3 drives at the end of the Cardinals game and the 3 drives at the beginning of the Patriots game that have been really promising. And I think the play calling was good. I think the execution by the offense was good. It all married together. It was magical. It was great. And those were the glimpses of hope that we've seen. Outside of that, take those 6 drives out of these 4 games, which I don't know how many total drives there were, a lot more than 6. It's been bad. It's been clunky. And I just don't know going forward. Nas Bloodvein, better question, what does our OC do? Man, there's a story there, man. Titans screwed Nick Holtz over. Like, I feel for him. I'm not, again, to be clear, not sitting here saying that he would be some revolutionary play caller. He's not done it. I have literally no idea. I would guess that it wouldn't be incredible and revolutionary, especially since it's the same offense. I don't think that it would. Sorry, Nick. But I feel for him, at least in the sense that when I put myself in his shoes, when they took the play calling from Callahan and gave it to Holtz, which I do not think was a Callahan decision. I think that it wasn't a Callahan decision to have the play calling taken. I don't think it was a Callahan decision to give it to Hardigree instead of Holtz. I would be super jaded because I'm sure he knows that everybody thinks he's a buddy hire, and that it's like, what does this guy do around here? Paul Karski literally asked him at one point in a presser this year, what do you do around here? Which is a crazy question for an offensive coordinator. I've talked on this show at length. I won't do the whole rant again as to what he actually does, because he does do stuff. Like he's critical to their operation during the week. But if I were him, I'd be furious that I have this reputation, and it may be true. He might be a buddy hire who's out of his depths, who couldn't call plays. Like, it all might be true, but no one's giving him the chance to prove it one way or another. Like, that would piss me off, man. If I was Nick Holtz, I'd be furious at whoever made that decision, whether it was Brian, who I don't think it was, or Chad Brinker, or Mike Borgonzi, or Amy Adams Strunk, whoever it was. It would piss me off that they basically said, I'm not ready. And what was it? Was it a Schefter article or maybe a Jeremy Fowler article? One of the insiders, and I wish I had this nailed down, I'm sorry, last week, in kind of the wake of all of this, with Callahan being fired, referenced the decision to take play calling away after week 3, give it to Hardigree. And they had some quote, or maybe it was a paraphrase from a source, that they said, like, one source told me in the building, Holtz just isn't ready. Like, little broed him in a national article. I'd be mad, man. Ann Herndon, he seems chill AF, though, just walking around with Todd Downing at the game. Nick Holtz is a chiller. Like, on a personal level, like Nick Holtz a lot. No idea if he's a good ball coach, because they don't let him do forward-facing things. And maybe they're right to not do so. Easton, if Holtz wasn't your team insider, would you be sticking... Well, first of all, he's not my team insider. I know Nick. It's not like everything I've ever gotten has been from Nick Holtz. That's not true. Also, here's the thing. Would I be sticking up for him so much? The things that I'm saying about Nick Holtz, the things that he does... Like, if you went and talked to Paul Karski on his show, or you talked to Nick Suss of the Tennessean, or you talked to Teron Davenport, like, they tell you the same things about, here are the things that he does. They're not forward-facing, but if you talk to anybody in the building, any of his coworkers, on or off the record, they'll tell you that what he does is important. But I also find it strange, Ross, that, again, like, are people hearing the words coming out of my mouth? How I preface this entire conversation with, he might suck at this, with saying that I would guess if they gave him play calling, it'd be bad. Did I say those things? I think I said those things. My point is, if I was him, I'd be pissed off that they're not letting me prove it. That's all. Like, I think that's fair. So, there's that. Where to go from here? So we've already talked about how the play calling is no good. People all agree that Callahan, the play calling wasn't any good, but Hardigree, it's been worse. We can be patient. We can understand that it takes time. Let me just rant now to kind of fill some time, and then we'll answer some questions. If anyone has any questions or just generally wants to yell anything at me, now's the time in the chat. Like the show. You need to like the show to be able to do it. That's your ticket to ride. But then you can fire away in the comments on Facebook or on YouTube after you hit that like button. I have been... It's just kind of this week, it's kind of hit me. And I think the way that our social media algorithms work these days, when something is bothering you, it feeds you more to, like, drive you into psychosis, because I guess it just enjoys you doom scrolling the things. That makes sense, right? So I may be getting an outsized amount of this now, but I'm losing my marbles over how much we blame coaching in 2025. 30 minutes before I came on this show, I saw a tweet from some Packers podcaster, writer, whatever, whoever. I don't know who they are. And they were, and you know what? I'm going to find it. because this was insane to me. This is insane. And again, I'm not saying this guy speaks for every Packers fan in the world by any means. No. But I've seen these things, and this is one example. It says LaFleur, head coach of Green Bay, LaFleur needs to give up play calling and concentrate on the game decisions. The reality is he isn't a very good play caller to begin with. I do feel if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, he might be out. What are we talking about? I've seen this about now. I've seen it about LaFleur. I have seen it about Sark in Texas. I have seen it about Sean Payton wearing a Super Bowl ring, one of the greatest offensive minds of our generation in Denver. Got to give up the play calling. These guys can't do it. They can't hang. Give it up. Give it to somebody else. And that's not even to mention the probably 36 prominent coaches and coordinators across college and NFL football right now that fan bases largely think should be fired or demoted or whatever. Coaching in football is by far the most important of all the coaching in all of the major American sports. It is a massive deal. Like the three most important people in your organization are your quarterback, your coach, and your GM. And you could say 33, 33, 33. It's an even split. We could quibble over the differences, but they all share a massive portion of the responsibility for the organization. And coaching can be the difference for certain players and certain rosters flipping between over and underachieving. That being said, I feel like we as a microwave society have gotten to the point that, and this is not a Titans rant, this is a all of football rant, to be clear. We've gotten to the point as a society where it seems like our first solution to every problem with our football teams is change the coach, fire the coach, take away play calling from this coach. And that's just crazy to me. I don't know how to quantify it. If you came to me and said, I think that half the time any given problem with my football team is primarily a coaching problem, I probably wouldn't even quibble with you on that. Okay, half the time. But it feels like that's what we go to now all the time. And psychologically, it makes sense. I think that in general, we as fans have started to subconsciously realize that it is so much easier to blame a coach because it is so much easier to replace a coach. I mean, you can replace your coach today if you want to. You can fire him. It doesn't cost you anything against the cap. You don't have to wait for a draft. You don't have to wait in line in a certain order behind other teams. You just convince the guy to sign up with you. You give him a contract and you check him in and you give him an office. That's the whole thing. And so it's easy to microwave coaches and rotate them and bring them in and fire them and bring in a new guy and all of these things. It's so much easier for the fan brain to accept that than it is for us to accept that maybe, just maybe, it's a roster construction problem. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a player problem and then your players stink. And again, I'm not saying it's all or nothing. There's a middle ground here that I think that we've lost. I think we have jumped the shark on how quickly we blame coaches first, players second. Why can't players be... The players play. Like when I talk to coaches and players across the league, primarily in Tennessee, but I talk to people that talk. I got friends on beats in locker rooms across the NFL at this point. I talk about these things with them. Pretty universally, when you ask players on or off the record, they'll usually say like, yeah, the coaching matters. And sometimes when the coaching's really bad, like they'll just, if the coaching's really bad, the coaching's really bad. But generally speaking, the players are like, it's on us, man. We got to go and do the things. Coach can't get me to not hold. Coach can't get me to catch the ball. Coach can't, get me to be in the right spot at the right time or to be more athletic or to be faster or longer or whatever it is. When you talk to coaches, they do the same. These guys are selfless and they're good teammates and they'll say it's on us. But I think the reality, like when you talk behind the scenes, maybe it's not that clear. It's not that, coaches will privately grumble about certain things that they're bashing their head against the wall to get their players to do that their players just won't do. And sometimes it's on them as a coach. They're not pushing the right buttons, but sometimes it's because their players stink. Sometimes it's because their players mess up or their GM put together a crappy roster and it's the roster construction's fault. So it's driving me mad that we're talking about taking play calling away from, we took play calling away from Brian Callahan. We saw how that went on a much more interesting scale. We're taking away Matt LaFleur's play calling now, Sean Payton's play calling, Sark's play calling in Texas. It's lunacy. It's lunacy. So that's my rant on that. Ann Herndon. Coach can't make 3 previous drafts worth of players appear out of thin air. You're right. They can't. They can't, Andre. They can't these fans can't take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The greatest coaches still struggle with zero talent. Mike Bell, well, I'm going to tell you why the coach issue is so valid. In the military, if you have a trash leadership, you're going to have trash soldiers. It's that easy. Listen, Mike, I'm not saying that coaching doesn't matter at all. I think it's unbelievably, tremendously important. This is funny from June Travis. Where do we go from here? We need to hear from Amy. I would like to hear from Amy if she's going to continue to. Here's my problem with Amy, by the way. We're gonna bunny hop across rants now. So many fans are like, we don't care about Amy. Quit talking about Amy. Who cares if Amy speaks? I'd hate it if Amy speaks. Craziness to me. Talk about the subconscious of the fan brain. It's always going to be easy to defend an owner up until the very last minute, because we all know deep down in our hearts that accepting that your owner stinks or is a problem in any way, which I'm not saying Amy is, I'm just saying in general, accepting that of your owner is the most painful, sobering realization of them all, because there's nothing you can do about it. There's just nothing. Unless you can indict them for embezzlement or fraud, unless you can find something in their tax returns from 1967 that will get them in trouble with the federal government. Yeah, man, good luck. Travis, you know what? I'll reiterate this for the last time on a show, I promise. Actually, I can't promise that. I'll probably bring it back up. But Travis says, Easton, what's Amy's new nickname? I'm glad you asked. And if those of you who were on the morning show are tired of hearing this story, too bad. Ross, are you familiar with the fable of the frog and the scorpion? Scorpion and the frog.
I'm not. I was not much of a reader ever.
Okay.
But enlighten me.
Fair enough. It's a very simple story, and I think it is the best way to explain Amy Adams Strunk right now. So here's the paraphrased version of the fable of the scorpion and the frog. There's a scorpion. It's trying to cross a river, but it can't, because scorpions can't swim. I don't know if that part's actually factually accurate. That's how the story goes. I don't know. It sounds like scorpions can't swim. The scorpion needs a ride. Scorpion finds Mr. Frog and says, Mr. Frog, will you give me a ride across the river? And the frog says, no way, dude. You're a predator. You'll sting me. We'll both drown. And the scorpion says, why would I do that? If I sting you, I'm doomed too. I will drown, and I don't want to drown. That's the whole point of me asking you. I can't swim. I drown. Why would I make us drown? And the frog considers the logic of this mutually assured destruction and decides to give the scorpion the ride. So the scorpion hops on the frog's back and rides across the river. And in the middle of the river, the scorpion stings the frog anyways. And the frog, betrayed, shocked, now drowning, says to the scorpion, why did you do that? You promised you would not sting me. And as they both drown, the scorpion replies, I'm sorry, Mr. Frog. I could not help myself. It is in my nature. It's a story that teaches us that when somebody tells you who they are, you should believe them. That when people are a certain way, no matter what they want to be, no matter what they say they are, believe them based on their actions. Amy Adams Strunk is the scorpion in the Titan story right now. I think she means well. I think that she really does want to win above all else. I think she's willing to spare no expense to do that. I think that she has the best interest in this team at heart. I think she wants a ride across the river, but she can't help herself but sting her ride over and over and over. And the fact that she's now fired separately 4 major figureheads in the last 2 years and 10 months, roughly 1,000 days, she has done them one at a time. That is the scorpion stinging her frogs. She's got to beat the allegations. Quit being the scorpion, Amy. Quit. I understand that with each of these people that she's fired, there's been a story on each of them, and I think there's a way for somebody to argue on each of these guys to varying extents that they deserved to be fired, and we can have that conversation. But it's not just about whether a guy deserves or doesn't deserve to be fired. It's also about unifying your team and the timing of these decisions. With John Robinson, I think that he's the easiest. Actually, I know that he's the easiest of the 4 to justify firing. No matter how much you hate Brian Callahan and the job he did in the 23 games he was here, he did not single-handedly drop a nuclear bomb on the roster of this team and sent them back many, many, many years. Right? Like Brian Callahan's 23 games, no matter what happened in those 23 games, is not setting this team back 7 years. It's not. And even with Robinson, the fact that she fired him 48 hours after getting embarrassed by Philadelphia fans and AJ Brown in that game was, I mean, that if that wasn't a canary in the coal mine, I don't know what is, man. Like, that was the sign that this is the way that she operates. She's reactive with these things. She's going to sting. With the coaches, Vrabel and Callahan, Vrabel's a complicated case, and I know a lot of fans regret that decision. And I still maintain that I think Mike Vrabel, the coach, didn't deserve to be fired, but I think Mike Vrabel, the GM, left her no choice or made her think she had no choice. And so I think that was just a tricky situation. That was a power dynamics decision, not a coaching decision. And it's a shame that it went the way that it did. With Callahan, I will continue to say that I think the timing of firing him was foolish. I do. I don't think that the upside of firing him when they did it comes anywhere close to outweighing the downside of it. And I think that in this first game that they played, you kind of saw that. I'm not saying that they're not going to show any improvement, because I still think there's some talent on this team and these players alone and this coaching staff. I think that there's a long season left for them to play some decent football and to get better. I'm not going to say no one's going to get better. But I think that we already saw against New England, like, this is what it is, man. And firing Callahan then only invites coaches going home at 8 o'clock instead of midnight, doors closing as coaches start to look for their next job because they know they're getting fired soon. Players starting to think about their next contract. Like, it becomes a me team instead of a we team when you do that in week 6 in the middle of October. And so, again, that's not to say that Callahan should have stayed and they could have worked it out. No, I don't think they could have. I think that he should have been fired at the end. Like, I think they should have gotten to week 16, whenever you think it's time to start to get a jump on the market, and then you do it. And the dirty little secret is that, I mean, I wrote about this. My understanding is that I think Callahan was kind of all but promised the year. Before the year. I talked about this in August. If they could just keep Amy in line. And I think that, well, you know. So, Searich says, I'm sorry, Easton Callahan needed to go. Now, I agree that he needed to go. I disagree now. I really do. And she says, Amy would have also gotten ripped by some of you media people for not firing him. I mean, there's some truth to the idea that she would have gotten ripped for anything no matter what. When you have a crappy team, you're going to get ripped no matter what. I hear you on that. But I really don't think she would have been ripped. I mean, first of all, the larger, like, what is she getting ripped for in the media right now from everybody nationally and some locally? Is that what I'm saying now? She's impatient. She breeds chaos. She's not somebody that you like her. She's a garnered reputation as somebody that you as a GM or an executive or a coach, you should be wary of going to work for her. Because unless I mean, maybe you're cynical enough as a coach to be like, well, either work or I'll be sitting and getting, cashing a Titans paycheck for the next 4 years and having to do nothing. Okay, but for those that want to succeed and want to be given a leash to succeed, be careful coming to Tennessee. Because 4 times in the last 1,000 days, less than 3 years, this has happened to guys one at a time. And now it says it. There is no job security with Amy. The results speak for themselves. I don't know how you can think that there is. I really don't. So that's why I think that it especially makes her look foolish when they came in saying all summer, she, via her spokespeople, very adamant, very clear, this is going to be a struggle. This team might stink. We might not win many games. It's all about progress. And I understand that their stated reasoning, fair enough, was that it's not about the wins or the losses, is that we weren't seeing progress. And the real issue here, the driving factor behind all of this, it was, like I said, in the wake of Callahan being fired, it was a quarterback-driven decision. Everything this team does, whether smart or misguided, right now, everything they do is well-intentioned as a quarterback-driven decision. It's all in service of Cam Ward, as it should be. And they saw a quarterback that they can't come out and say it, but they see a quarterback that they're worried is regressing through 6 weeks. Now, I'm not confident that that's going to change significantly when he still has the same quarterback coach and the same play caller and the same OC and the same supporting staff and the same players around him, everything besides Brian Callahan. In fact, I don't think it's that, that's going to be the solution. Oh, Brian's out of here. Thank God. Now this guy can get a whole lot better. I'm skeptical of that. I am. But that's the reason they did it. And I when you come in saying publicly and not so publicly that, like, we're going to give it the year, we're going to be patient, we're going to reset and have stability, and then before the midpoint of October you send the guy packing, it's just a bad look. It makes you look like the woman who fired the 3 guys before him. It does. And I wish when she makes these decisions, and I believe that she makes these decisions, I wish that she wouldn't. I wish that she'd pick a lane. That's my primary issue with Amy. It's not that I think every owner should always speak. If she wants to be this absentee owner, more power to you. Not an issue with that. Not an issue with that. If she doesn't want to speak, she's not fine. Don't speak. You own the team. Do what you want to do. I just think it's fair as media and as fans to say, if she's going to be making significant decisions about the people on this football team, the hirings and the firings, and we can't know for sure, but this is how I feel about the situation. She shouldn't then trot out her lieutenants to answer for her, answer questions about a decision that they didn't make, that I can't even know whether or not they were fully on board with making, or if they were told to make. I want the person that does the things to answer for the things. I don't think that's a crazy notion. And I feel like she wants to have her cake and eat it too on these things, where she wants to empower her football people to speak for her, Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi in particular, and Burke Nihill. She wants to empower them to speak for her. She wants to be hands-off. She wants to let her football people work and give people a leash. And she says the right things. I think she really in her heart means the right things. I think she means well. I do. I don't think she's some evil, intentionally dense, misguided person. I think that maybe misguided is the right word. I think that she can't help herself sometimes, and she needs to do a better job of helping herself. I really do. And so if she wants to be that version of an owner, be that version. But don't not dabble until you decide to dabble. And then when you decide to dabble, go back to not dabbling and make the people you pay highly to speak for you and answer questions that their answers are proof positive of them not being equipped to answer the questions because they didn't make the decision. Like, you don't have to tell me you didn't make the decision, Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi. I can tell by what you're saying, by the way that you're answering these things. It's just frustrating. We're in a frustrating spot, Ross. Let's get out of here. I saw you start a couple. For any questions or thoughts that you have to send my way before we end this high blood pressure episode of Primetime. Ross, what do we got? Mike Bell, is there a disconnect between Cam and the coaching, period? No, not that I know of. I think that the disconnect is that he's a rookie, and in 2025, rookie quarterbacks in known bad situations simply are not allowed to be bad to start their career anymore. We just don't have the patience for it, apparently. I was listening to, I didn't know that this existed until it popped up on my algorithm. I was listening to the Carr brothers, David and Derek. They have a podcast now, because sure, why not? And they were talking about the Callahan firing and how much of a disservice it was to Cam Ward, and just generally about how in today's NFL, it makes sense why some of these quarterbacks are staying in college as long as they are, because once you punch your ticket to the NFL, brother, you better show up. You better show up early, unless you go to one of the very, very, very few situations and franchises willing to be patient with you, or they have the leash to sit you for a year or whatever it is. You better buckle up, Buttercup, and produce day one, week one, month one, whatever it is. We can't possibly let the rookie that's in a bad situation with the Titans, have some real ups and downs. So that's what it is. I don't think there's a disconnect at all. I think maybe the coaching staff stinks. I'm not saying that they don't stink. They might, but I do know that this quarterback just needs time and patience and continuity, and it's not necessarily been given to him so far, and that's frustrating. Next question. Smurf Butt. Great name, by the way. Are we in the doom cycle? I don't have to read the rest of this comment to know the answer is yeah, probably. If we actually draft someone with our top 5 pick next year, are we the Browns? I don't know how that tracks. No. Because first of all, you didn't spend $230 million guaranteed on a dumpster fire of a quarterback, so that's good. You're also not owned by the Haslam family, which we could compare and contrast our notes on Amy Adams Strunk and the Haslams, but different flavors, different unique challenges, I would say. So I think you got a really good coach. I'd love it if the Browns fired their coach and the Titans could somehow get him, because I think Kevin Stefanski is the real deal. But no, I don't think you're the Browns if you take a swing with your top 5 pick. Next question. Bustin' Diamond. What does it have to take for Brinker and Nihill to get fired? It's a good question. I mean, Nihill has the leash of all leashes because, one, he's not on the football side. And so it's what's the thing, the pressure on him is I guess just generally if the public thinks the team is the franchise is a joke, but even then, he can't control the football product. And also, he got the stadium built, so he's the golden child, like as he should. I got nothing against Burke. I love talking to Burke. I think Burke's a good guy. I think he's sharp. I've just enjoyed getting to know Burke this year, but I don't know. I have no idea what could get Burke fired, to be honest. I don't think much, because he's building the stadium. So doubt it. With Brinker, this part's more interesting, and I'm gonna write about this at some point. Like, it is interesting that it's now fully the Brinker show. There have been phases of the Brinkerification of this team, top to bottom. He came in, he was put in the level of ultimate power that he's now in, and from that point on, he changed up the front office to his own vision. He saw a problem there. He fixed that. He saw a problem with a lot of the support staff, and he fixed that. You know, the security guy, the videographer, and there's a lot that sounds flippant and like you're just like there's intent behind that. That's actually kind of interesting, but it's another story for another time. And now the coaching staff, like he and Mike Borgonzi, but I think it's going to be Brinker led. It's already been reported it's not going to involve an outside firm. Not surprised by that at all. I think Brinker and Borgonzi and the all-star cast of front office guys that they have put together, McKenzie and Dave Ziegler and these guys, I think they're going to lead this the same way that they have led everything since they've been installed, and Brinker's going to lead it in primarily the way that he led the GM search. And from there, it's going to be everything is going to have Brinker's fingerprints on it. The roster is still going to have John Robinson, Rand Carthon, and Mike Borgonzi fingerprints on it, because Brinker really genuinely does. He's not the snake that you people think he is. He might suck. He might really suck at this. But if he does suck, it's not in the way that I think the general public tends to think of Brinker. He really is not meddling. Like I have had nothing that's led me to believe that he is meddling, from talking to him, from talking to Borgonzi, from talking to anybody that I can get to talk to me in the organization. Mike runs the roster. He does. Brinker does a lot of research and has a very informed opinion, and expresses his opinion like the rest of the guys in that room. The person pulling the trigger on all these things is Mike Borgonzi, as far as I know. I believe that pretty firmly. But the rest of the organization, man, it's Brinker. So at some point, this becomes the Brinker show. And if Amy ever decides to hit the super duper nuclear button and blow the whole thing up, then that would be, that would be Brinker. So I just think the way that she's positioned him to fire Brinker at this point is to admit defeat on the entire vision of the entire roster, or the entire organization on the football side of things, and redo all of it. And what an undertaking that would be. Next question. C. Rich, if the team fired Callahan earlier, how would Amy Adams Strunk be perceived then? So I've talked about this. I think that the checkpoints for firing Callahan absolutely should have only been last January and this upcoming January. And so to your question, if they had fired him, I'm assuming you mean like before the season, because if she had fired him in week 3 or week 2 or whatever, then it would have been just an even more amplified version of what we're currently getting. If she had fired him alongside Rand back in the winter, I think that she still would have. I think it'd be like, man, Callahan got a raw deal, sacrificial lamb, 1 year with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, like a crap roster. What are you supposed to do with this? She would have gotten. She would have gotten some real heat for that decision, and I think it would have led into because then that would have been 4 major figurehead firings in 3 different instances in almost just 2 years, which is crazy town. But you would have at least been able to, and people would have been able to employ the logic and been like, in Amy's defense, if you're going to move on and you're going to draft a quarterback, what did we talk about earlier in the show? The 3 most important figureheads in an organization, not figureheads, 3 most important actors in this show are your GM, your head coach, and your quarterback. And if you're drafting a quarterback, it makes sense to align all 3 guys, to start the clock equally on all 3 guys, to make them a package deal. That would have been absolutely defensible. So would it have been, Callahan got a raw deal? Yeah, man, that sucks. It happens. It happens sometimes. Raw deal for Callahan. He'll land on his feet. But at least she's showing some signs of process here. And I think that would have gone over way better than what she did splitting the baby. She should have waited when you decided last January to not fire him. You needed to resolve then and there, blood pact, unless he loses the team. That the team actively turns on him, which they did. The roster did not turn on Callahan. They didn't. I have investigated this to an annoying degree. They didn't. If that happened, that changes the game. And if he did something like a fireable offense behind the scenes, like did something like, HR, like sure, fire him. But outside of those instances, they should have waited until the end of the year. And they didn't. So should they have fired him? Yep, I think so. Was it wise to do it when they did? No, it was foolish. It was foolish. Next question. Curtis, early list of coaches you think would be a fit. Well, let me pull up my article that I wrote about this in the wake of the Callahan firing. Generally speaking, I think that the Titans, like we always talk about, what kind of archetype are they going to transition towards? And I don't think Chad Brinker is going to be limited in the scope of his search. I think that if his GM search was any indication, I mean, he was very thorough in interviewing a dozen candidates and cutting it down to 6 and flying those 6 in and like doing a very serious hours upon hours of work with these guys and covering all the bases and then doing what they think is best for the team. I think that's what it will be like with this upcoming coaching search. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have a dozen candidates they at least do a first round interview with. And I think that they, in terms of archetype, are going to lean towards what their research, and this was, I feel comfortable saying this because I think it was in one of Fowler's articles this week. When you look at recent history at the most successful coaches in the NFL, the archetype is second-time head coaches, guys that have done it before and failed, or guys that have been specifically play calling coordinators for 5 or more years. Those are the guys that work. And Brian Callahan was neither of those things. So they'd be going the opposite direction of that in terms of general resume there. And so guys that I think fit that mold that I wrote about in this quick hot board, again, very early. I don't have a super deep opinion on any of these guys. I want to see some of these guys continue the rest of their year. And I think it also changes the math. Like if Stefanski becomes available, oh dear God. If John Harbaugh becomes available, which is increasingly being talked about, I still don't buy it, but people are talking about it. Different conversation there, brother. Talk about a high floor in getting John Harbaugh in here. Would love that, obviously. Is it going to happen? No. Mike McCarthy's been talked about a lot. I'm starting to warm up to it. I really am, just because I think that he'd be a transitional figure for this team, and they need a leader, and they need someone that has done it before. And by a win percentage, if we're going to call wins a coaching stat, from a win percentage standpoint, he would be on par or better than any coach in the history of the Titans. Brother's won a lot of games. He's won a lot of... The Titans have been to the playoffs since 99 or 98, whenever they became a Tennessee team. 10 times. McCarthy became a head coach in 2006 for the first time. He's taken some years off in between then. In that time, he's been to the playoffs 12 times. So, get that guy in here. Is he going to win the big one? Probably not, man. He's shown. Probably. He did it that one time, but probably not. But, sure. Joe Brady's going to be a hot candidate. I don't see him as a great fit for the Titans. I really don't. I think they'll interview him. I don't think it'll work. Mike Kafka, same deal. Cliff Kingsbury. I kind of like the Cliff Kingsbury idea. I do. Second-time head coach. I think that everything that goes to Arizona is sent there to die. So maybe I should hold it against him more. I don't. Art Smith. We could talk about it. Let's see. Brian Flores. Give him another chance. How about Rex Ryan? Huh? Rex Ryan, second chance? Toes Factory? Come on. Jim Schwartz. I don't think he'd take it, but maybe. These are just some names. We're going to do a version of this show 19 times between now and when they hire a coach. So just a taste. All right, Ross, I know you're dying for me to shut up. What are these last 2 questions? No, look, you guys don't see him behind the scenes. He's like, he's giving me this. He's gotten up and made himself a grilled cheese. Like he's threatening to end the stream, to just cut us off. So the lights are about to be turned off. Travis says, Easton, what about Marcus Freeman as a head coach? I'm wary of the college to NFL jump in general. So, that's a net L for me no matter what. I'm just a blanket, not crazy about it to begin with. I mean, he's a players coach guy. I don't have anything against him. I think he's a good ball coach. Also, Notre Dame's not moving off of him. James Franklin, though. Add him to the list. Last question, Ross. One more. Johnny FNC. There's been some incredible turnarounds the past few years. In your opinion, what will it take for the Titans to get back to competing? It will take hitting on your coaching search. It will take your quarterback developing into a starter in the NFL and taking a leap or 2 or 3 in the next year or 2. It will take this offensive line getting their act together, which could happen, in the next month. Could happen by the end of the year. Like, I still have faith in this offense. Faith is the wrong word. I still have some hope that this offensive line will start to really gel. We didn't even get to the J.C. Latham rant. You'll have to come another day for that one. Probably on the morning show at some point this week. I'll probably do that. Man, what else? An act of God. Yep, put that on there. The Lord will have to provide. There's no doubt about that. Those are the general things. And then, and Amy Adams-Strunk has to quit being the Scorpion. Quit being the Scorpion, Amy. That's all I'm asking. One more? I'd kill for mediocre at this point. Man, I get it. Is there one more start, or are we done? We're done. That's it. Great show, guys. I had a good time. I feel better. I've gotten some things off my chest. I hope I didn't bother anybody too much with that. I hope that we all maybe see things the same way a little bit more than we did when we started. So appreciate you guys being here a ton. Hey, do me a favor and hit the like button on the way out. It'll be JT and Austin tomorrow? Yeah, it'll be JT and Austin tomorrow morning, and they will be talking about something so exciting. I can't tell you yet. It's a secret, but boy, oh boy, is it going to be great. You're going to love it. I don't actually know what they're talking about, but it's going to be a good show. So tune in, same place, different time, 8:10 Central Time here on the A to Z Sports YouTube channel. Until then, for Ross, I'm Easton Freeze. This has been Prime Time. I'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville! Go